Hello and welcome to Storytime with me, Joe Brennan, storyteller from Wexford, and I'm joining you at Navan Library as part of the events to mark International Migrants Day. And for that day, I'm going to share some stories from different parts of the world. And the first story I'm going to share with you is a bit of fun, and I need you to help me with it. Now, I've no way of telling if you're joining in, but please do. It is good fun, and everybody should. If there's adults with you, they should join in as well. And this story is going to take us on a little journey around part of the world. And this story needs your help. And I need you to put your hands like this, and then do this. Yes, it's the mouth of a creature. Most people think it's a crocodile, but no, it's not. It's a gorgeous little frog, but it's no ordinary frog, because he is the wide mouth frog. He's got a big mouth. And not only that, but he can talk. So when we want to make him talk, we put our hands like this and we say, "Hello, who are you? And what do you eat?" And when you tell him what you eat and who you are, he'll say, "Wow, fascinating." So we've got two friends, Katie and Tom. And Katie and Tom play together every day, and when they're outside, they have great fun. They climb up in the tree, they splash about in the puddles, and then their parents go, "Stop doing that!" But then they do it anyway. And they have a rope hanging from a tree, and they sit on the rope, and they go, "Wee, wee," and then they fall off and go, "Ouch, me bum!" And then one day, they had an idea. And Katie said, "Hey, Tom, you know what we should do? We should make a trap and we should catch a wild animal." Oh, it sounded a little bit scary, but it also sounded like a lot of fun. So they built a trap. The next day, they came running out into the garden and they saw there was something in the trap. And they ran over, but suddenly stopped. And then they moved a little bit slower towards it. And then they opened it up. And out stepped the wide-mouthed frog. You ready? "Hello, who are you? And what do you eat?" "Oh, I'm Tom," said Tom, "and I love to eat carrots and broccoli and potatoes and pasta, spaghetti bolognese, fish fingers, chips and beans, eggs, and I love chocolate ice cream." And the frog said, "Wow, fascinating." "Oh," said Katie, "my name's Katie, and well, I'm a vegetarian, so I eat a lot of lots and lots of vegetables. So I eat carrots and broccoli, celery, spaghetti bolognese, but without the meat because it's vegetarian. And I love onions and garlic and peppers and salads and bananas, apples, bananas, more bananas, apples, you name it. She loves all fruit. There's one thing she's not mad about though, and with Christmas coming, it's those Brussels sprouts. Some people love them and some people just go, bleh. She's more about, bleh. And for dessert, oh, she loves chocolate fudge cake, warmed with cream. And the frog said, "Wow, fascinating." And now, they thought about it, and, they thought they could keep this animal at home, but they thought, really, that's not fair. Animals belong in the wild, where they live. So they decided to let the frog go. But Tom had an idea, and he said, "Frog, if you're so interested in what we like to eat, maybe you should hop around the world and see what some of the other animals like to eat." And the frog said, "Good idea." And he hopped away. Now we're going to make the frog hop. In order to make our frog hop, your bum stays where it is. On the chair, on the floor, on the couch, wherever you're sitting. We put our hands like this, parents, grown-ups too, you ready? And we go hip, hop, hibbity, hop, hip, hop, hibbity, hop, hip, hop, hibbity, hop, hip, hop, hibbity, hop, till he spot a large brown animal covered in fur standing in the middle of a river. And the frog looked and said, "Hello, who are you? And what do you eat?" That large brown animal said, "I'm a bear, and I eat honey and nuts and berries and fish and sometimes campers." And the frog said, "Wow, fascinating." And he went hip hop hibbity hop, hip hop hibbity hop, hip hop hibbity hop, hip hop hibbity hop, till he spot, well, a smallish animal that was maybe this size. It had two pointy ears. It had a bushy, stripy tail that was grey and white, grey and white, grey and white, and he had a black mask around his eyes that made him look like a robber. The frog looked and said, "Hello, who are you? And what do you eat?" And that little animal said, I'm a raccoon, and I love to eat garbage, rubbish. Yuck, said the frog. Fascinating. And then he went, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hop. Some people are not hip hopping. I can see you. Come on. Best hip hops. Hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop. The next animal he spotted had 2 heads. He had travelled a long way down beneath to see this animal. The frog looked up and said, hello, hello, who are you, who are you? And that animal said, I wonder, can anybody guess what has 2 heads? And it's not a dragon, and it's not an alien, and it's not a monster, and it's not a snake, and it's not a snail. It hops and bounces. It's got a big tail, looks like a rat tail, but much bigger. The big head said, I'm a kangaroo. And the little head said, me too. And we eat grass and leaves. And the frog said, wow, fascinating. And he went, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop. Till he saw an animal that had 4 long legs and a big long neck. And the frog looked up and said, hello, who are you and what do you eat? And that animal looked down and said, I'm a giraffe and I eat the leaves from the tops of the trees. And the frog said, wow, fascinating. And then he went, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop. And he was tired. And he decided to have a sleep. And he found the perfect place and he curled up really small and he closed his eyes and he started to sleep. You ready? Close your eyes and started to sleep. He opened his eyes. It was dark. He was all alone and he felt just a little bit scared. But then he saw a long, thin creature sliding, slithering stealthily towards him. The frog looked and said, hello, who are you and what do you eat? And that creature raised up and said, I'm a snake and I eat wide-mouthed frogs. Have you seen any wide-mouthed frogs around here? The wide-mouthed frog gulped. No, never seen a wide-mouthed frog in all my life. And then, very quickly, he went all together, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, hip hop, hibbity hop, very fast away. And from then on, well, he was always a bit more careful when he opened his mouth. But he never lost his curiosity. I love that story. I love the frog and his curiosity. And in that, he journeys. I always imagine he starts off in Canada with the bear and then down to America for the raccoon and then to Australia to see the kangaroo and then up to Africa to see the giraffe and meet the snake. I love it. This next story comes from Africa. It's a story from West Africa. And in this story we have the king of the beasts, the lion. And this lion went hunting every day. And he would hide in the long grass of the savannah and he would watch the animals going by and going by and going by. And he was looking for an animal that was maybe weaker and slower or injured. And he could catch that animal and eat it. And he would race out from his hiding place, chase that animal, and the animal would go that way and then this way and then that way and try to get away. But then he came up with his huge claws sticking out and he came down and he crashed down on top of that poor little, well, the first one was a zebra. But the zebra got away. Phew. Now the lion has to eat, But he went back to the long grass and he waited and watched all the animals come past. And then he saw a gazelle. And this gazelle wasn't running really fast and bouncing. Its leg was hurt, so it was slower than the others, and it kept falling behind. And out came the lion, and he crept forward, and then hopped up, and he started to chase him, and he went that way, and came back around this way, and up came his huge claw, and he came down with a crash. And this time, the gazelle got away again. But the poor lion was hungry. And the poor lion was thinking, if I don't eat soon, I won't be strong enough to be a king anymore. And he was getting hungry and angry and grumpy. And then he realized, I'm the king. and he had an idea. So he called all the animals into a big circle, and he stood there before them, and all the animals were wondering, why does he want us? Why has he called us here? Nobody knew. But then he raised up his huge paw. And when he did that, well, they all fell silent because they knew that paw, that claw, woo, it was scary. And from now on, he said, I, your king. And they all bowed down at that word. I'm not going to chase you silly animals to eat you for my dinner. What is it? He's not going to chase us. He's not going to eat us. Yippee! They all started to cheer. But then he raised up that huge paw with its claws. And they fell silent again. He said, from now on, I am making a new law. And that law is that you must pick one of you to come to me and I'll eat you for my dinner. What? They said. No. That's not how it works. You have to chase us. You have to catch us. Then you can eat us. That's the way it's supposed to work. If we get away, we get away. And he just raised up his paw. I am your king, he said. You must do as I say. Well, he walked away. And as he walked away, the animals were stunned into silence. And he had just gone a short distance when he stopped and turned around and looked over his shoulder and said, I'll have dinner in 1 hour, please. And he disappeared. Now the animals were stunned into silence. They were being asked to pick one of their friends and to go and be eaten by the lion. It's impossible. There's no way friends would do that. But unfortunately, sometimes they would. And over here, the zebras, they started to get into their own little group of zebras and move away from the others. And they looked about. And then they started to point and said, look at those giraffes, those big long necks, those funny balls on the top of their heads. They look a bit different and strange and weird. They should be eaten first. And they all agreed, yes, they should be eaten first. The giraffes heard this, and they were over here, and they started to get into their own group and cuddle together and look around and say, us, but why us? Wait, look at those gazelles. Have you seen the way they run? They look like they have springs in their feet. They bounce along. They should be eaten first. And the gazelles said, us, but why us? Looking around, they said, but what about those zebras with their black and white stripes? They should be done. And then it went from one group to the next group to the next group, and all of a sudden, into the middle of the animals came the little rabbit. And the little rabbit smiled at all his friends and he said, hello. And all his friends looked at him, they looked at each other, they looked at the rabbit, they looked at each other again, and then they said, rabbit, you must go to the lion and be eaten. What? Said the rabbit, me? Oh, no. He said, when he tries to catch me, I run and then I disappear down my burrow. It drives him crazy. You don't understand. He has made a new law, and that law says that we must pick one of us to go and be eaten, and well, we pick you. Me? Said the rabbit. Well, why me? And they just looked and shrugged their shoulders. And then the rabbit turned and walked away. And as he was walking away, he thought, sure, they're playing a joke on me. And he stopped and he looked around, expecting to see them laughing and smiling. But they weren't. They just had serious faces and they just went, go. And the little rabbit went away with a heavy heart, sad, his friends, and terrified. And as he walked along, his head dipping lower and lower, he felt very, very thirsty and so scared, and he thought he'd have one last drink before he went to the lion. And he went over to the well, and he looked down into the well, and there he saw, looking back at him from the well, it was there. Another rabbit, his reflection. And that gave him an idea. Well, he took a big drink of water to give him courage, and he ran on to find the lion. Now the lion was so hungry, he was pacing up and down. His lips were getting wet because he was thinking of what he was going to eat, when all of a sudden the rabbit appeared and said, I'm here. What? Said the lion. They sent me a little rabbit for my dinner, and what kept you? Oh, he said, you're not going to believe what happened when I was coming here. I met another lion, and that lion says that he is the king of the beasts, not you. What? I'm the king of the beasts. Oh, said the little rabbit, I don't know. He says he's the king. You say you're the king. He said, show me this lion. Come on, he said, this way. And the rabbit took off at a great speed. And the lion came behind him, kind of walking fast. And he brought him to the well. And he said, he's down there. And the lion went over. And he looked down into the well. He saw another lion. And he was angry. Now, can we roar like the lion? I'm going to suggest we do really quiet but loud roars. Try it. Who can beat the quietest loud roar? 1, 2, 3, roar! And the lion at the bottom of the well, of course, went roar! Back at him. He got angry and he said, I'm the king of the beasts. And the lion at the bottom of the well said, I'm the king of the beasts. And the lion was so angry that this time he roared even louder. You ready? 1, 2, 3, roar! And then he sprang off his huge hind legs and he attacked the other lion in the well. Splash! He was gone. The little rabbit looked down and he saw the lion. Well, he was dead. And he smiled. And then he went back to tell his friends. And his friends were all standing around still, chatting in their own little groups still. When the rabbit appeared, they saw the rabbit coming and said, what are you doing here, rabbit? The lion's going to go crazy. And he said, no, it's okay. I killed the lion. What? They said, you? They roared with laughter. That's not possible. It is possible, he said. I'll show you. Come on. And he brought them back to the well. He said, he's down there. Well, each and every one of them looked into the well, one by one, and they saw the lion. They looked at the rabbit, they looked at the lion, and they said, how can this be? And he told them the story of how he had outsmarted the lion. And they felt bad. I mean, they had picked on the smallest of all the animals, and yet he had outsmarted the great lion. Well, that was the last time they picked on the rabbit or any other animal for that case, because they realized that each and every one of them had their own special talents and abilities. And that's the story. I have one more story to share with you, and it's a Christmas story, and it is my favorite Christmas story. There's only a week left, so it's okay to tell a Christmas story. Now, at this stage, you've probably all put up your Christmas trees. And if you look at your Christmas tree now, I'm wondering what you see there. I'm sure you see baubles and lights and all sorts of things. But one thing that I always remember when I was a child, and to this day I still do it, is to put a little robin in the Christmas tree. Now, I don't mean a real robin, because once there was a girl listening to this story and she was horrified because she thought I meant a real robin. I don't know what she was thinking, that I had glued it on or something. No. It's just a decoration, a toy robin. And this is where the story comes from. And this story I heard from a Scottish traveller, a really famous storyteller called Duncan Williamson. Now, I never got to hear him tell it, but I read it in a book that he had left and a recording of it. And it goes like this. The little robin was hopping around the floor of the forest when some children came along. And these children, not like you, were horrible. And they threw stones at the robin. And the stones hit the robin and broke the robin's wing. Now, the robin knew it needed shelter and food if it was going to survive the winter. And he thought he would go ask the trees. And he hopped along the floor of the forest until he came to the great oak tree. And in those days, the oak tree and all the big trees had their leaves all year round. All through autumn and all through winter, they kept their leaves. They didn't blow away. And he chopped up along and he called up, oak tree, oak tree, oak tree, please help me. The great oak tree was asleep. Looked down and said, who is disturbing my nap? It's me, said the robin. Some horrible children threw stones and broke my wing, and I need shelter with food. Please, can I hop up among the branches and find somewhere that's sheltered and food to keep me going so my wing can heal, and then when spring comes, I'll be ready. I'll be ready again to go out into the world. And the big tree looked out and said, you birds, he said. In the summertime, you come and you build your nests, and you're in and out, and busybodies and children, chirp, 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 and keeping me awake all the time. And now you wake me up again when I'm supposed to be sleeping. Go away. Well, the little robin was a little bit stunned and shocked. But he thought, well, there's all the other trees. They will help me. So he hopped away along the floor of the forest till he came to the beech tree. And the beech tree said, go away. And then he went to the larch. And he went through all of the forest, to all the great trees, and each and every one of them said, go away. Well, now the little robin was getting desperate. The little robin was getting weaker and weaker. And he thought he wouldn't even survive to find another tree. When he saw, well, a smallish tree, maybe only this height off the ground. And it didn't have big leaves either. No, it had green needles. Well, it was a fir tree, of course. And he hopped up to that tree and he called up. His voice now was very, very small and weak. Fir tree, please, can you help me? And the fir tree looked down and said, yes, what is it, Robin? He said, some horrible children threw stones and broke my wing, and I need to find shelter and food. I've asked all of the trees, the great oak and the birch and the beech. I asked all of them and they said, go away. Please. Help me. Of course, said the fir tree. Hop up between my branches. You'll find a place where two branches come together against my trunk, and there you'll find a bed of nice needles. They're soft and warm, and among those you'll find pine nuts. You can eat those and get better. Well, the little robin hopped up into the tree and took shelter, found the perfect spot, snuggled down, and he was able to just reach his little head and find pine nuts to eat. And he survived. Of course, he survived the winter. And when spring came, he was able to spread his wings once more and fly away and find a mate, build a nest, and have babies. Now, the thing is, on a tree overlooking the fir tree sat the forest fairy. And the forest fairy saw the little robin struggling along the floor of the forest and wondered, what's happening? And when he saw the robin stop and talk to the fir tree, well, he was curious. He hopped down some branches to get closer. He cupped his hand over his ear and he listened. And he heard that story of what happened to the robin and what the trees had done. And he stood up and he was so angry that the trees wouldn't help the robin. So he thought, I'm going to go and tell the north wind. And the north wind, well, won't be happy. So the little forest fairy jumped from branch to branch, tree to tree, and made his way from the middle of the great forest all the way out to the very edge. And he stood there on a sturdy branch, waiting for the north wind. And it didn't take long before the north wind came thundering along. It was like that wind a few weeks ago in the storm. It was massive and loud and thundery, and it was rolling down along the landscape, not coming to the forest, but just off in the distance. And the little forest fairy called, North wind! North wind, please! And the great north wind stopped and said, who is calling my name? And the forest fairy said, it's me, the forest fairy. And he told him the story. And the north wind was not impressed. They did what? The north wind was angry. When I come again, I will teach those trees a lesson. And it wasn't long before the north wind came again. It came thundering down over the mountains, down through the valley, and there lay the forest in its path. The trees were woken by that sound, and they all started to shake and shiver before the wind even got there. They were terrified. What was going to happen? Well, the wind came on and it thundered through the forest. It bent the branches, it bent some of the trees, and they nearly toppled over. But most of them stayed standing. But the one thing the wind did was dried out all of their leaves and blew them to the ground and left the trees bare to the snows of winter. It thundered on, and the little fir tree in the middle of the forest was terrified. It was so small it thought the wind would pick it up and throw it away. But suddenly the wind stopped in front of it and looked down at the little fir tree and said, Fir tree, I am not going to blow your needles away. No, you were the only tree to give shelter to the little robin, one of God's smallest creatures. For that, you will keep your green needles all year round. And then he went past thundered on and blew the leaves off all the other trees. And to this day they lose their leaves in the autumn and have to stand there as the winter rains come, the winds and the ice and the snow, and they have to suffer through it. So then when people decided to take the fir tree into their homes as a Christmas tree, well, many people like to honour the memory of the fir tree and its kindness to the robin by placing a little robin amongst the branches. A toy one, of course. And it reminds you, when you see it, of the generosity and the kindness of the fir tree to the little robin. And it reminds us at this time, and maybe at all times, but especially at Christmas time, to be kind and generous to our friends and our family, and also to the strangers, and maybe even people we've fallen out with. That's the story. I hope you've enjoyed these few stories. Feel free to share them and listen to them many times, and maybe tell some over Christmas. Thank you.